the Judgment Day run the WWE. If there's one sentence to describe Payback 2023, that's got to be it. But first, I would like to welcome all you miserable people to the inaugural episode of the Hollywood Heels podcast. I do believe some introductions are in order. I am the rock star, the Renaissance man, il macellaio Italiano, the Duke Russo, and I am here for your infatuation. But I'm not alone. I'll let my doggo here introduce himself.
I appreciate that gracious passing of the torch, good sir. I am the divine voice himself, Henron, and we are here to talk about a lovely pay-per-view on a lovely Labor Day weekend. What do we have going on today, man?
Well, we're going to cover Payback 2023, occurred in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania this year with a little over 14,000 in attendance. Quick match card. We got Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus in a steel cage match. Some interference at the end, but Becky Lynch came out on top. Had a quick little promo. Cena announcing himself as the host and also introduced as the greatest of all time. We'll get to that. He announced himself the guest referee for the next match, which ended up being LA Knight versus Miz. Straightforward match. LA Knight on top. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
After that, we had Ray and his defense against Theory. Interesting match, I guess we could say. Came out with Mysterio retaining the title. Quick little interview between Tiff interrupting Becky. That led right into the Steel City Street Fight for the tag team titles between Sammy and KO versus Priest and Balor. And the Judgment Day walked away with the gold. Quick little Grayson Waller effect, which contained the best announcement of the night. Announcing that Jey Uso will be on Raw. After that, we had Rhea versus Raquel. Really, there's no one to challenge Rhea at this point, so it was a pretty easy cleanup for her. After that, we had the main event. Seth freaking Rollins defending his title against Shinsuke Nakamura, with Seth having the clean defense. So that was the entire card. Let's go one by one here, man. Let's start with Becky and Trish. What do you got for me?
Yeah, man, I'd like to start. I love whenever they bring the steel cage down, they put on this little dramatic music in the background. Dun, 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 like as they drop the steel cage down. I thought that this should have been something else. They had a shark cage or Enzo Amore in a shark cage match where they, put a dude in a shark cage above the ring. I felt like they should have did some nonsense like that with Zoe Stark because, yeah, it's a cage match, but they always interfere every single time. Like,
yeah, and the door opens. You know what I mean? Like, to me, I felt like it should have been a Hell in a Cell. They had been brewing this like really personal beef between Becky and Trish. And like in the beginning, Trish was really focusing on escaping. And to me, I was just like, why is that even an option?
Yeah, like y'all have, it's just been ongoing and can't contain it in a, whatever her name is, Zoe Stark, banned from ringside. Even though she beat her in a Falls Count Anywhere, but she's just fine. We couldn't get an injury angle to take her out or something like that. And then before this, get started, we find out a little bit more later on in the show, but I was just wondering, where's this going? Like, cool, Becky's probably going to win. And then what? Because, you mentioned Rhea, like, I don't know. Becky's not beating Rhea. She needs, like, she's just not on her level. I don't know. So I was kind of confused, but the match wasn't that bad. I actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah, if I'm honest, like it was my contender for match of the night. I was very pleasantly surprised. It was a lot better than I was anticipating. Some really good bumps, really, really nice moments. I liked the promos into it. The intros were great. I love, you know, Trish really pushing her heel with the line of like why she turned being like, I'm no one's sidekick, you know. That really, really hit me. There was a really nice moment early on, like Trish did a back bend to get out of a clothesline, and then just Becky hit her with the leg drop right on top of her in it. And like there were some really, really nice moments. And I don't know when it happened, but dude, Trish had like a mega welt on her forehead in the shape of the cage, it looked like.
Yeah, I don't know when, I like at first Becky was eating it a lot, right? She was taking most of the brunt of, into the cage, and then they both started getting into it. And I don't know when it occurred, but man, she just like they were saying on the announce table, she should have worn that mask because it would have definitely helped her out here.
Right. Let's be honest, Trish ages like fine wine. So I wouldn't mind protecting that face just a little bit.
Just a little bit longer, merci beaucoup, whatever they say. But I gotta slide this in here. I hate when people wear skin colored wrestling gear. I don't know what Becky had on, but that's just weird every single time. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I don't know what's happened to Becky's style, but the old Becky, like she went like the Lady Gaga direction at one point, and then I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but I've seen her in worse. I'll put it that way.
I thought she had like curly hair, or like I swear her hair was different, but I can't remember how different. But I don't know. It was a pretty decent match. It was weird, Trish constantly almost escaping, and at times probably could have just jumped off the cage and won. There was that one spot towards the end where she got her leg caught in the top of the cage. Oh my God. I was like, that didn't look good. And I'm glad nobody got injured on that, because that's how you tear a quad or something.
I mean, she's not a McMahon, so. Yeah, I think right after that is when Becky hit Trish with the superplex from the top of the cage. There were some big spots for these two in there. I was really surprised at like how far they let them go. Trish, her ring work as of late is I feel like up and down. Not in terms of quality, just like how far she'll actually go, But they went all out for this one, and I really enjoyed it. I loved not to like escalate to the end a little too prematurely here, but I loved the moments where like people were closing the cage door to like, no, we're
yes. Yeah, a lot of symbolism in those actions. Some good, and this was a big match for Trish. I'm pretty sure this was her first steel cage match. I don't know if she's ever been in one. Correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like they were hyping that up. I know the first ever was with Lita and somebody else, and they did some crazy looking Widow's Peak move as a callback to that match.
Yeah, and then Becky hit the Twist of Fate, and yeah, there was some homage paid for sure. I can't remember if Trish has been in a steel cage match, but like I kept thinking back to Becky and Sasha Banks, Hell in the Cell, and I was like, Becky's been there. They should have just done Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, and I don't know the last time we've had a Hell in a Cell, honestly. I know like it's no longer its own pay-per-view show, right? They wanted to change that.
If I recall, the last one was Finn Balor and Edge.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember that one. Edge, man, that's another story in itself.
Yeah, but I think that was the last one, and then I think before that was the Cody Seth one. No.
Yeah. Cause that was the only two in my most recent memory besides the Finn Edge one are RIP Fiend and Seth, and Seth and Cody. Those are the two that stick out most in my memory. I'm sure there's been some in between, but those are the biggest two that I can remember.
Yeah, and I think it's been a real long time since we had a women's one. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been cool. Down the line, Zoe came in, interfered, as I think we were all expecting her to. Um, I think it was right after Becky hit the manhandle and Zoe came in. And then Zoe was like at Trish, and then Becky went over and closed the cage door to keep Zoe in. And I was like, yeah, this is what needs to happen.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. I got on my notes right here. Trish is trying to climb out and Becky slams Starks into the door. Becky then rushes over to Trish, which was the story of the match because it seemed like she was catching her at the last second, every single time. But finally, Becky gets the pin and Trish and Starks are, Starks is trying to help her up like, hey, it's okay. But, foreshadowing, she gets into a little tiffy with her friend, and that's it for that relationship.
Yeah, and it was interesting. I was not very surprised that it got to that point, but the Z360 has to be one of the coolest women's finishers right now. So
push her.
Yeah. And like, not to get there, I need Zoe Rhea. Like, I think that's got to be the next, because I don't know any other female that can really like stand with Rhea right now. So I want to see that. But one real head scratcher moment that I had in this match was actually right before Zoe interfered. Becky tried to climb out of the cage, and I was like, why? Like, the whole point of this is for her to beat Trish's ass. So like, why is Becky trying to escape? That was a weird one to me, of just like, okay, I understand you want to win, but like, this is personal and you want to hurt this person. So
yeah,
that was a weird moment for me.
And speaking of hurting people, when was the last time we saw Becky Lynch use her like original finisher, which was to disarm her little sit out armbar? Like, she, busted it out and then they called it out. And I was like, when the hell was the last time she used that move? Like, why weren't you doing this, all the other times, breaking arms? I feel like that might have helped a little bit, but
Yeah, I feel like they like to do that. I mean, it's like somebody's old Ring music coming back. You know what I mean? Like,
true.
They like those throwbacks, and we might as well insert the whole Tiff thing right here, I think. So in the beginning of the match, while they were doing the entrances, they showed that Tiff was there. Tiff Stratton, current NXT Women's Champion. She really did not look like she wanted to be there. I don't know if the camera just caught her at a bad moment or whatever, but she did not look too thrilled. But later on in the night, they were interviewing Becky, and Tiff came along. And I want to know if this was an angle all along, because seeing it happen on Twitter, I thought it was a legitimate mistake that Tiff said that Becky was a former NXT champion. And then Triple H, being a genius, works that into an angle. I feel like that's had to be how it happened. Like, I can't imagine them planting that. But there was a moment where, Becky looked at Tiff as Tiff was, apologizing for misunderstanding that she was never actually a champion. And Becky goes, yet. So clearly there's going to be some Becky appearances on NXT here coming up.
100%. I hope it wasn't planned. I hope it was accident and spontaneous, because that's when you get the best content. But I feel like I'd make the same mistake, because I heard the stuff online that, Becky didn't win that title. And I was like, huh? Because I
Becky's won everything.
That, but I, oh my God, I just think back, she wasn't as big of a star, as she is now. back when they had the whole whatever split rosters, Raw versus SmackDown, where she kind of developed this man persona, and she got popped in the face by Nia Jax, who broke her nose and she was bleeding out. But that's when she, developed that nickname and became the man and had this big shift in character change and before big time Bex. So, really thinking about it, like she's one of the few stars that has come out of NXT and actually done better than, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and didn't have to go to
Most
another
of the
company.
time, yeah, it's quite the opposite.
Yeah, for real.
But it should be good to have her down there, spice up that women's division because God knows they need it. I don't know. I'd like to see Becky win and spend a little bit of time down there and then, build another good star who ends up taking the belt from her. So that way we get some better NXT stuff, take Becky out a little bit because she's kind of floundering on the main roster, and then have her come back, Royal Rumble or something, nice big pop from the crowd and get her back in that main event picture to fight for the belt that we all know she wants.
Yeah, and I really do think that she's going to walk away with the NXT belt. And that's 100% what they're going to do with it, is they're going to use her to put somebody else over. But the question is who, because I just, especially on the women's side, NXT, I just feel like is really devoid of like, eye-popping talent.
Yeah, I don't know. There's the only person I Thea Hale, I'm hype, right? Because she'd be hype, but then like her little whiny schoolgirl storyline kind of, I'm like, but I don't know.
Yeah, I would not expect them to carry that over to WWE and the main roster if they were to bring her up. But yeah, I'm a Thea Hale fan as well. Just I feel like a lot of the women, the in-ring talent is just where it's hurting right now. There's a couple that have like good characters and are decent on a mic. Just the in-ring talent has been better in the past.
Yeah, and maybe I just need to pay more attention, but I just feel like this iteration of that women's division has just become like almost bland and too much the same, because I feel like I look at everybody and I'm like, I don't remember half these girls' names because half of them come off as the same person to me, I feel like there's way too many heels in the NXT women's division, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting there right now. I don't know. Hopefully they can bring some development to it, and we'll see where it goes. If you think back to like some of the stronger times in NXT, I feel like actually a lot of the strong women came from the UK NXT.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's an issue as well. We'll see. So after the Becky and Trish match, we had a brief promo with Cena coming out. Obviously huge pop the second the music comes on. I thought it was interesting that they introduced him as the greatest of all time.
Yes, I wrote that shit down. First off, he's the host, which what the hell does that even mean? You didn't start off the show. You didn't come out and introduce anybody like to start the show. So I don't know how you're hosting the show when you weren't first. And then they're calling him the greatest of all time, which cool. I guess he's in WWE terms like really good, and he's beaten a lot of people, won a lot of belts. Has he passed Rick? I mean, who's got like the most WWE belts? Like I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
I think for like I think he just needs one more belt to like get the record of one more world champion belt.
Yeah.
To have the record, but I don't know. Nowadays the GOAT term is used like on everybody. You know what I mean? It used to be much more selective, pretty much exclusive to Michael Jordan.
Right.
But nowadays you got people calling Dame Lillard the GOAT, and sorry to be like cross sports here, but like, you know what I mean? I feel like it's lost a little bit of its luster and meaning as time has gone on. It's just been so overused. So I'm not surprised at it, but when they said it, I chuckled and I wrote it down of like, okay.
Exactly. I love the music though. Big pop, new gear. Got to get that new merch sold. Got a new towel got to buy. So
And I mean, let's be honest, dude, like with the Bloodline story kind of stalling, that's really why they're bringing Cena back. So
yeah,
they're going to pull everything they can to just like play into, because I mean, dude, 10 years ago, there were a lot of people that hated Cena, like,
yes,
I wasn't always a big fan of him. I fucking love him now. Like, it's it's hard to not hate those guys when I mean, it's hard to hate those guys when they come back.
for sure. I'll as much as Cena was annoying every time I hear do 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 do. It's always just going to be a classic for the rest of my life. So
So as it went on, he announced that he will be the guest referee for the next match, LA Knight versus The Miz. So obviously, The Miz comes out not happy. Miz is never happy anymore,
it's not.
and we'll get to The Miz. But I love the way Cena played it. Like, he could have played it and just like hit him with the AA, and then said, "Okay, ring the bell," and just hand LA Knight an easy win. But he's like, well, since you've hosted so many times, give me some advice about being a host, and it just like, you could tell he was just planting a seed and like trying to spin it towards him and just, lay the trap for Miz. And it worked because he basically got Miz to say, oh, you need to be more involved. And he's like guest refereeing the next match. So I think it worked out really well. And then we get the match to start. So LA Knight comes out. Dude, LA Knight is so over right now. It is insane. I love it. But before we get to the match, like, one of the things that I love the most about LA Knight is just the fact that this dude has he's put in all the work and the dedication that is required to be a superstar in the WWE. And it just never happened. A year ago today, the dude was Max Dupree managing Maximum Male Models. And now he's quite possibly the most over guy on the entire roster. And he's 40 years old. Like, it's so cool to just see somebody have the success that he's having right now without really like being able to break through. And it's just happened so fast.
Yeah, never heard of the guy before he came to WWE. Even when he did LA Knight, I was like, what kind of that's not a name. I don't get it. And even when he was with the male models, I didn't even know that was the same guy. Like, I remember Massey. I remember Otis. I don't remember Maxine Dupree or whatever his name was. You know what I'm saying? Like, I paid zero attention to him until LA Knight became a person. And I'm like, who is this guy? I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Yeah. I'm like, what do you mean? Yeah. What are you talking about? I like that.
Yeah. No,
it's wild.
It's so good to see. And, to go back, before Payback, really him beating Finn Balor was like the first, I don't want to say the first legitimate win, but the first like eye-opening, like he beat somebody huge on the roster win. And I know that they've been building this Miz matchup. Dude, I'm just so tired of the Miz. That I felt bad for LA Knight having to fight Miz.
And I feel you there. And one, I feel like that Finn Balor match was his first legitimate push from WWE, actually treating him like a real person. Because prior to that, he was even though he was getting over, he was kind of a joke. And Miz is just that guy, I think he will be gone soon because I believe we found his replacement in Grayson Waller. And I think Grayson Waller has a very long career of doing everything that The Miz is doing. But at the same time, The Miz isn't old and he does a lot of talking and slow matches. So he's probably still going to be able to be around for a while, So I really don't think he's like, he stuck it out for so long. Nobody's ever liked him. You know what I'm saying? He's never done anything good to nobody, but somehow he's still kicking about. And man, he's like, I guess they don't have Dolph Ziggler that they use anymore, but The Miz is basically the next person as your stepping stone. You know, put him on the mic because he's gonna make you talk. He's gonna make you do some talking segments, and you're not gonna have that hard of a match with The Miz. So
Yeah, and I should probably rephrase what I said earlier. I'm done seeing him in the ring. I actually think he would make a great manager. Like if he you know was like MVP or something like that. You know what I mean? Like
yes,
I think he would be superb in that kind of role, and I would be interested in that kind of role. But I'm overseeing him in the ring. You know, dude should just keep his shirt on. You know.
yeah. I've never really been super entertained by his in-ring action. I just feel that it's, you know how you watch some matches and just it just does not. There's no exciting moves, nothing's flashy, and everything just looks a little bit too slow of a pace. You know, for my liking, on the most occasion, right? Not every single time, but I'd say the majority of the time, it comes across that way to me.
Yeah, and so like because of that, dude, this is the match that I took the least amount of notes on. I barely took any notes in this match because I'm just like, you know, it was just kind of a meh match for me. I mean, eventually LA Knight hits a BFT and wins it off of that. I mean, it was more the tense moments between Cena and LA Knight was more entertaining for me than the match. To be completely honest, although I do think that they need to hook LA Knight up with some better finishers. I think he's capable. I mean, the BFT ain't bad. The big elbow or whatever his like rock elbow thing that he does, whatever they're calling it, you know, okay. To me, that's what LA Knight could really use is like a really like impactful finisher.
Yeah, on that note, I enjoy his finishes. I enjoy the BFT. You know, I feel like it's unique. He's been able to hit it well on most people that he's been in the ring with. I feel like with something where you're pulling them down so awkwardly, usually, you know, you can get those instances where it doesn't look good, but I feel he's pulled it off every single time. The elbow, I call it the yabo, right? Because I'm lame.
Yeah.
But man, that's just getting you over. Like it, you know, that's just like The Rock, you know, the people's elbow. You're getting the crowd into it, getting a big yeah chant into the big elbow. It's beautiful. I do feel the rest of his moveset is kind of just old and stale, you know, some suplexes, some punches, you know, I don't see too much. He does like to get a little frisky, like when he was fighting Sheamus trying to get up to the top rope. Just this time against The Miz, he was on the outside trying to jump onto the barricade and his ass almost didn't make it, you know?
Yeah.
So he's got to be careful, you know. I don't think he can do too much more. And I don't know, I feel like him messing up something would hurt him more than doing something cool, in my personal opinion. But
that's fair. That's fair. Maybe it's more like the pacing of the match or something. Because I mean, let's be real. Like, you know, Roman gets it done with not a whole lot. So yeah, it's there. It's there. And the dude's so over that it's just like it almost doesn't even matter.
And it works. Yeah.
You know. I mean, that's all I got for this match because, like I said, it just was it was like a TV style match, you know?
Yeah, I'll run through some of the highlights I had here. I mean, it was just your basic Miz match, Miz running out of the ring. I did like Cena playing referee. You know, at first he kind of was a little bit lax because I'm like, let's get that count out going. But as time went on, he was into it and playing it down the middle. You know, as we talked about some beef with LA Knight, so we could potentially see an LA Knight John Cena feud. But I mean, if Cena needs that belt to be the GOAT, are they really going to let LA Knight beat him? You know, I'm weird.
See, I actually don't think that they're going to do anything with that because LA Knight doesn't need any help to get over right now. And honestly, having him fight Cena, you'd kind of have to let Cena win, and it just wouldn't, like, nobody benefits from that match.
Yeah.
So I wasn't, it was fun. Having that moment at the end on the catwalk, but like I really don't think that they're going to do anything with it. I think Cena's either going to go after. There's a couple options. Jay coming back. That I don't think that they would go that route, but I see, like, whether it be Grayson Waller, somebody like that, maybe Cena goes toe to toe with, try to put Grayson Waller over a little bit more, because I worry about Grayson Waller, because of the fact that he is becoming the next Miz, and like in NXT, he was pretty damn good, and I would hate to see him be the guy that they use to get other people over.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to see that either, most definitely. If he likes that, if he's getting a nice check out of that and he's happy with that, great. But based on his career in NXT, like, I saw that man in shorts because he was out there balling, right? All the time. But we move up to the main roster, he's been in pants and a polo and he's just chilling. If you want to chill, that's great. But maybe he's scared. Maybe they're trying to take it easy because he did recently get injured. So maybe they're just letting it play out, build a character more before they push him. But I definitely think they need to keep him in the ring and just make him a better Miz, right? He can continue the talking, but let's not skimp on the actual feuds, because you can't just have a talk show with everybody and then get beat up and then a talk show with somebody new next week, if they even let you wrestle. I don't know.
Yeah, and let him win, let him beat people, because the kid can perform in the ring, no doubt. So I would hate to see it go that route. But anyway, next match, we had Rey Mysterio defending the US title versus Austin Theory. I probably had this, to me, it was between the LA Knight match and this match as worst match of the night. I would use the same description on this match that I did for the last one. This was a TV match. Like, this is a match that you would see as like the main event on Raw. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, it wasn't really a crazy match to me. There were some interesting moments. Theory trying to rip Ray's mask off. I thought that was a pretty good one. They really did sell Theory being significantly more powerful than Ray. I felt like, but that dude, Ray's a legend, and he's great at selling that, so that was, I guess, kind of to be expected. But it was a feel good match in terms of, who you wanted to win won. And he won kind of how you wanted him to win. So ultimately, it flowed decently. But I wasn't like overly thrilled with the match. I'm not a huge fan of Theory. The character that they have him going, it just, they trying to sell him as like Cena 2.0 or whatever, and it never really hit for me like that. And the dude, like, didn't really have a whole lot of title defenses. Like, he got the title and kind of stopped wrestling. And to me, that's not a belt that you really do that with. So I guess that kind of soured me on Theory a bit as well. But yeah.
Ooh, hot take time. This was the bathroom break of the night for me. Sorry. I hate Austin Theory. Cool. You're jacked. All right. Like, from Evolve, which was like the tiny brand before NXT, they tried to pull this guy up from there. Like, oh, I mean, he's so great. And he had, before he changed his finisher to the A-Town Down, he used to do this weird pump handle into like a face buster deal. It was overly complicated, and I hate anything from the pump handle position except for the riptide, of course. And I just never into him. Boring, bland. I don't know if it's the character or what, but he just never, I don't know, man. Like, maybe if he had some cooler moves, like, I don't know what it could have done to be helped for this character. I just don't know. And I love Ray, mad respect, but I'm sorry. Like, you got one big old jacked guy. Half the time he was literally chucking Ray around. It's just hard to believe sometimes. I'm just like, come on now. Like, he like just break him. And Ray's old. Just break this little man. I don't I don't care about, like, I'm starting not to care about the US title belt. I'm over here looking at the design of the US title belt and I'm like, there's not even red, white, and blue on it anymore. It just says champion. I'm like, champion of what? I don't even know it's the US title. Then when they zoom in with like the match graphic, it's got a giant eagle on it. And I'm like, okay, I guess you can't get more American than an eagle. But I'm like, where are we going with this? What's going to happen? Who's going to take the belt? Every LWO.
I have an answer.
I don't, like, unless it's Grayson Waller, you know what I'm saying? Like,
it needs to be LA Knight. That should be the LA Knight belt.
It should be. Yeah, because it get it away from everybody involved in this. LWO goes somewhere. I'm sorry. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of speculation that it's going to go to Escobar in a Ray versus Escobar match, and I don't know. I wouldn't really enjoy that, to be honest with you. I will say there was one decent spot in this match for me that I was like, all right, I kind of enjoyed that. When Theory caught Ray in midair and then hit him with a huge spinning sit out power bomb, that was a badass spot. That one I'll give Theory. But again, I think a lot of it goes back to just how good Ray is at selling things, because the dude's a legend. And the fact that there are certain guys when I see in the ring, I'm in my mid-30s at this point, and I had a pretty physical career at one point in my life. And I hurt daily. And to see guys like Ray, guys like Sting, especially, like, dude, I don't know how they do it. I really don't.
Man. Anybody, mad respect, as I feel you right there, man. 31 myself. So I'm like, I can't even play some pickleball without feeling like I pulled something and I got to take a week off, But to chime in a bit on the match, like, some spots I liked. At one point, Austin Theory had him in like a reverse chokehold and like spun him around like in the sleeper, and then like threw him down. That was nice. And then Ray hit like a classic baseball slide, which he hit into a DDT somehow. Like, I don't know how the hell that they worked that one in there. It wasn't bad. Also, Ray's gear was pretty dope. The black and red looking good. Sometimes he'd be looking goofy, but that black and red was pretty fire. I can't lie. I wouldn't be mad to see an Escobar Ray match, because I feel like they would have a really good match. Like, I feel like that'd be a great match. Now, I don't care for anybody else that they'd fight after that. And Escobar, I don't care. I'm sorry. Does he say anything? What's his character? Like, wasn't he a phantom? Like, what happened to that?
Yeah, I don't know that, dude. This is kind of why I don't really want the US belt going that route, and why I want it on LA Knight. Like, to me, that's the LA Knight belt, man.
That's where it should go. That's where it belongs.
So do we agree then that this was probably the worst match of the night?
100%.
All right, I like that. After this match is when we had that Becky interview where Tiff came in, that we already covered, and then after that was the tag title match.
Oof.
The Steel City Street Fight, aka just a street fight. This was a roller coaster, man. This was a roller coaster. I mean, there's a part of me that just wants to talk about the results, and I feel like we could probably do that for 20 minutes.
This is jump right in, man, because that was a highlight. I did not expect it. I did not expect it at all.
I was not shocked. To me, the result of this match is what defined what was going to happen in the main event, if that makes sense. Because I felt like if Finn and Priest won, then they were not going to cash in on Seth. But if they didn't win, then I felt like it was guaranteed that they were going to cash in on Seth. So like to me, this match had huge implications, not only on just like the Judgment Day and then the tag titles and KO and Sammy and where do they go from here? Do they stay tag? Blah, blah, blah. But like had direct results on the main event as well.
Yeah, I can see your thought process on that. I thought like what I wrote starting this off was, oh my God, like I want Judgment Day to win. We all know that they're not going to win. Let's just get this over with. Let's end this feud so I can finally stop seeing these men wrestle each other for once. But man, I thought it was done and over. You know, when what Finn missed that kick, or Finn missed the stomp from the top, gets set up, eats the kick, and I thought it was over. But your boy Dirty Dom came in with the briefcase, and there were no briefcase shenanigans the entire match. Like that's
Yup.
been the storyline, and then all of a sudden it was the briefcase that turned the tide. Oh man, it was poetic, man.
So I actually in the beginning I didn't know who was going to win, but probably 2/3 of the way through the match after Dom had interfered, I thought that KO and Sammy were going to win. Like it just felt like it was going that way. It felt like every time the Judgment Day was getting a control on the situation, KO and Sammy just came out with something, whether it was them coming out in the Penguins jerseys and the hockey sticks, you know. I just, it felt like it was going that way, and I was kind of really surprised. And then once Rhea speared KO through the barricade, that's when I was like, okay, this is probably the Judgment Day winning here. And then yeah, Sammy rolled out of the coup de grace. He hit Finn with the haluva, and then Dom hit him with the briefcase. But like after the haluva, it was like, dude, it was such a roller coaster.
Yeah, man, and some of the top spots. I'll kind of run through my notes here, skipping through from the beginning. Nice little fight to start things off. Was kind of wild. The crowd. I love crowds. You know, I love chanting. I love getting into it. But it's always we want tables. After watching some of the recent pay-per-views and some of the stuff that they used, you know, let's just stop with the we want tables. Like if you want, like let's get ladders out there. You know what I'm saying? Let's get anything. You know, I love a good kendo stick, right? Like sounds good, looks good. I love a good trash can, right? Tables, kind of meh to me. You know what I'm saying? Like depends on the situation, but kind of meh. I like the announce table, right? But you know, no here, no there. I love Finn looking under, finding the random terrible towel from the Steelers, giving that a good old stomp.
Yeah.
Little disrespect, easy heat, but gotta love it. Oh man, what else we got here?
We
Owens.
got the KO with the Terry Funk shirt.
Yeah, and then Owens was just so bloody. Like where did that come from?
I don't know when that happened. That was I didn't even really notice it until he came out with the jersey when they popped up from the table, you know, because they were like Judgment Day started talking strategy about, you know, how they're gonna win the match and they're gonna bring him in and they're gonna pin him in. All of a sudden KO and Sammy pop up with the jerseys and the hockey sticks and you know, not full crimson mask, but KO was bleeding some pretty good, and I have no idea where that came from.
Dude, in that exact spot, this is literally my 4 lines of notes. Strategy, LMAO, all caps. When did they have time to change? LOL, all caps. Why is Owens so bloody? And then I said, and then I was like, I don't know hockey because I assume the Limo guy or whoever. Yeah, I assume those were some good hockey players who like to fight.
Yeah, well, all hockey players like to fight, but it was Mario Lemieux and Sidney Crosby, and they're basically like the top 2 Penguins legends of all time, and like 2 of the greatest players of all time. Sidney Crosby still plays, but yeah, it was a great great match, great spots all throughout it. You know, like Sammy hit a nice Blue Thunder Bomb, like relatively early in the match. Dude, I
Hmm.
swear to God, they had like 20 chairs in the ring at one point.
Dude, yes, they just kept setting them up and setting them up, and I was like, "Who's gonna eat these chairs?"
I mean, I think Sammy took the worst from the chairs. Um, they threw Sammy through because like they set up the chairs and then I think Priest, I don't remember what he did to Sammy, but he sent him through the chairs, and that was that was pretty much the end of setting up the chairs from that point on. There was a point where they were like at the announce table, and then they were gonna go into the crowd. Um, this was after the hockey part, I think, and I swear to God, Finn backhanded Corey Graves. Like literally just like backhanded him in the face to get him out of the way. I don't know if you saw that, but I was like, yeah, that felt
I
good.
saw Corey running into the audience. He was jumping over the barricade.
Yeah, that's exactly when that moment was. I it probably was like Finn like shooing him out of the way, but from the camera angle and how Corey moved, it literally looked like Finn just backhanded him across the face. That one got me. But dude, when KO hit Dom with that swanton from like way up in the audience, dude, KO
Yeah.
barely caught Dom and like he ate concrete himself hard.
Yes, dude, I was watching him set it up and I was like, where's he jumping from? Like I thought he was coming from the side,
It was
you
like
know,
the
because I was
top
like,
of the tunnel. It was like by a tunnel or something.
yes, I was like, first off, like that looks far as hell. And then he got even higher. And then, thank goodness the fans were there. He got a nice shoulder from the fan to hold on to. But he overshot this guy, and he's lucky, like, he didn't dislocate his tailbone. Fuck, man.
Yeah.
Good camera angle, though. Love that camera angle.
Oh, yeah, yeah. To catch it like under him and literally following through the flip. That was a banger moment for sure. For me, that was probably one of the top moments of the match. Um, it was such a good match. And surprise, surprise, the entire Judgment Day interfered. But what pissed me off is like, why didn't anybody help them? Like we've had this whole thing brewing for so long, and so
Where's
many
Cody?
people have helped them. Whether it was Cody Rhodes, where was Matt Riddle? You know what I mean? Like there have been so
Where,
many
what? Yeah.
random people, and like nobody came to help them. And I was like, what? That's kind of lame.
Yeah, nobody at fucking all. Like, they just, there was like, there was five people out there. Like they were just getting mollywopped because big head JD McDonough came in there. Somebody was calling him a what are those little Funko Pop? That's what they said he looks like. No, I can't I can't unsee it. God, I hope they make him into a Funko Pop and it's just the worst. I can't wait for that. I did love that he came out, he helped. Owens chucked his ass and into the announce table and he threw him a little to the left so he didn't land flat on the back of the table. He hit like at an angle just on the front side, so he just his back spine bent backwards right on that thing. And then they didn't even celebrate with him at the top. They just left him back there dying next to the
I
announce
I
table.
loved that, dude, because you could tell everybody except for Finn hates him. You know, like
Yes.
nobody wants him there except for Finn. And then it's kind of even questionable if Finn really wants him there. I think he was like Finn's backup plan of like, if the Judgment Day fell apart, at least I got this dude, like, I don't know. It was weird. When are we going to get Rhea fighting dudes? That's what I want to know.
Maybe she'll enter the men's Royal Rumble this year.
That would be perfect because her spear to KO, she can fight.
Where's my notes at? I wrote Ripley spears Owens through barricade and screams. I wrote mommy in all caps, and then I said she's scary. So
uh,
that was a
dude,
beautiful spear.
honestly, like, uh, I know Nia Jax had like some of those moments, but to me, she's the most like intimidating female on the roster since probably like legit since probably China.
And that was homage later on in the night. That's what she said her gear was an homage to.
Oh, 100% it was. I noticed it the second it came out. I was like, that's some China gear. But all right. So I had this match probably to me it was between the steel cage match and this match for match of the night for me personally, and I would probably give it to this. It was a damn good match. Was not thrilled about the ending. And I just don't know where it goes from there. First off, can they just unify the goddamn belts, please?
Yeah.
Or redesign them, because these are probably my least favorite looking belts in the entire company.
Everything's gold. They're not gold.
Yeah, the red and the blue thing. Like I understand what they were trying to do with SmackDown and Raw and whatnot, but they've been more or less unified for how goddamn long now, thanks to the Usos.
Yeah, at least 2 years. Shit.
Yeah, so it just either make it one belt or just make them look better, please. And then like what comes after for KO and Sammy? You know, like I'm worried. Like I like them as a tag team. Are they going to keep them as a tag team, or are they just going to go back to being solos? Because I also like them being solos too, dude. Like a couple months ago, that KO Gunther match on a random Raw was like way better than 90% of the pay-per-view matches. So it would be really interesting to see where they go from here with KO and Sammy in particular, because that's the one. Like clearly they're setting up Judgment Day to be, you know, the next faction after Bloodline at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, there are question marks with Sammy and KO where they go from here.
Yeah, I'd say for me, definitely match of the night, especially because of the finish. I wasn't expecting it, and that set it over the top. If Sammy and Kevin won, I might have given it to the Becky Trish match, just because same reasoning. Where do we go with Sammy and Kevin? I didn't want to see them. Honestly, it's great that their champs. Is finally good that they gave them something, even though they should have given them bigger singles belts. But whatever. But we'll see. You know, I feel like Owens. You know, feel like he might take a break. Sammy just seems to be for the love of it, but Sammy just loses all the time to everybody. So I don't know what they plan on doing with either one of them. Maybe let's just get a nice JD McDonough, Kevin Owens, you know, singles feud for a little bit. Give JD, you know, a little bit of a push. Let Owens and Zayn take a break for a little bit, you know, and then come back to whoever, you know, ends up beating. Maybe come back against the Street Profits when they eventually have some titles and they split these belts, because they have to split them and they got to redesign them. I feel like both are coming sometime soon because they just feel out of place. And I feel like two things here. Number one, this could be a great time to split them amongst the Judgment Day, you know, have JD McDonough kind of sneak in there. And then you kind of have, you know, like a Dirty Dom Priest team. Maybe Finn and JD split off. You know, maybe something occurs in that ilk. I also saw some random fantasy booking for a situation where if they lost, where they ended up turning on Finn Balor, just like they turned on Edge originally, and then end up taking in JD to replace him, letting Finn go on his babyface times, which I also wouldn't have minded to see, because that's just, you know, some more decent action. But I'm eager to see where we go on both fronts. Who are some top babyface tag teams? Aren't the New Day hurt? I feel like Drew and Riddle are about to break up.
Yeah, that's not a real tag team. I mean, I don't know. To me, there hasn't been enough of Hurt Biz 2.0 to. Are they heels or faces? I honestly don't know, because I just don't feel like they've had enough time yet.
They get cheered.
Yeah, and to me, like and not just to me, I think a ton of people, the first place that people go with their mind is, okay, it's probably going to be, you know, Street Profits, Judgment Day for the titles is going to be the next like tag feud, you know. It just makes organic sense.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see where that goes. So after the KO, Sammy and Judgment Day match, we had an edition of the Grayson Waller effect featuring the American Nightmare. First off, I just want to say that out of all of pro wrestling, Cody Rhodes has the best suit game out of anyone.
Yo, yes. To the
Man,
nines every time.
dude, it's ridiculous. You know, shoes and everything. Like the dude just knows how to dress. But overall, this segment ended up not even being about Cody Rhodes. Obviously, they started with trying to do a bit of a heel rub with Grayson Waller. You know, the nobody wants to hear what the people of Pittsburgh have to say, and just all the shit with Cody and whatnot. But the reality is, this was an announcement that main event Jey Uso is back. You know, Cody was talking about how he used whatever pull he had to right what he felt was a wrong. And now Jey Uso is back and on Monday Night Raw, which is kind of weird because I feel like 90% of the talent that you want to watch is on Raw at this point. So we'll see how that goes. But man, it was good to see Jey back.
Yeah, it was beautiful seeing Jay. I'm gonna start back from the beginning. I love Grayson Waller's intro music. I don't know, that's a banger to me. I don't know why. It's great. I love Grayson Waller's line. He at first it was just a heel diss to Pittsburgh, but he said, "You know, I've seen your reading levels, Pittsburgh, and you have something in common with our upcoming guest. Neither one of you can finish a story." That was such a good line.
That was. I'll give him that.
Everybody's over for Cody's song, which is great as well. You know, adrenaline in my soul. That it's a banger, right? I love that shit. I also loved how Grayson Waller is like, what did Cody ask him? Do you even watch the show? And Grayson Waller's like, I watch my stuff. That's my guy right there. He wins all the votes from me, just for acting like that. But it was beautiful seeing Jay back. My girl's watching in the background. She was like, "Didn't he just quit?" I was like, No, but he's back now.
Yeah, we back.
Love the new music. What did he say? It's just me, Oos.
Yeah. It was subtle, but I liked it.
I think it's way better than Jimmy's music because he came back with new music, and I think Jay has better music. So put that out there.
I mean, Jay is just better than Jimmy in all aspects. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, like we'll see. You know, I'm eager to see how this just spices everything up. Maybe we have a good, just harping back. I didn't even think about this. Harping back to what are they going to do with Owens and Zayn? They got a new friend who's a good guy now. Maybe we can
true
see some of that action. You know,
there we go. Maybe they rekindle their friendship. I mean, Jay didn't come back and come to Raw to not win a belt.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, okay, who's he going for? Is it Ray? I mean, I feel like that would be too easy. Gunther? That would be a banger match. Seth? Banger match. There are options. I thought it was kind of weird that Jay literally didn't say a word. He said nothing. The entire segment, he didn't say a word. He just super kicked Grayson Waller and left.
Yeah, right before he kicked him, the crowd's chanting Usi, and Grayson Waller says, "Yeah, he's an Usi." And I'm like, that shows he actually doesn't watch the show, because that's not how that phrase works.
Yeah.
Oh man. But yeah, that was my first thought, was Seth, Jay. I figure that's exactly where it has to go. You could put him in the US title division, but I feel like that division should be run by LA Knight. Let's, keep Jay out of that mix, because we don't want to see them fighting each other. It's going to ruin everything. I don't know if I can see Jay going right away for Seth, but
I mean, not clearly they're going to continue the Seth Nakamura thing. So, and Gunther's about to pass Honky Tonk Man. So, Triple H loves his long reigns, but he's not going to make it go on forever. So I would not be shocked. As much as I want to see Gable be able to take down Gunther, and that would just feel really good, I would not be shocked if it's Jay that takes down Gunther. I mean, we also want Sheamus, right? Because we want Sheamus to get his Grand Slam. So I don't know, but he's going for a belt.
For sure. It'd be interesting to see him go against Imperium because he has no friends. So maybe that's where Sammy and them come in and they help him get the belt, even though they were kind of getting beat down by them. So maybe they still got a grudge to hold.
3-on-3 at that point.
Speaking of Grand Slam with Sheamus, one thing I forgot to mention, I think this was the first time Finn Balor won tag belts. And he's won a lot of stuff. I'm sure he's close to a Grand Slam.
That might be the Grand Slam, actually. I mean, he held the Universal title.
And I know he had the Intercontinental.
Yeah. So that might be his Grand Slam. I'll have to look that up, but it might be.
Give that man his flowers,
But it'll be curious to see where they go from there. It was also interesting that the second that they made the Jay announcement, Cody just left, and he also never said anything again. It was awesome, but it was kind of an odd series of events.
Yeah. My last notes are Cody's backing out, and he's just staring at Jay, and then obviously we're gonna get Jay Waller, maybe some tags mixed in with. Cody or Waller's teaming up with Austin Theory. I thought maybe you get Jay mixed in with the LWO, against Waller and Theory, and maybe they find somebody else. I don't know. Anything, maybe get Cody and Jay against Waller and Theory and just separate Theory from the US title, get that garbage out of here so that way LA Knight can take that over, and then keep Cody away from Judgment Day, but also keep him somehow involved in the bloodline, quote unquote, because somehow his newfound friendship / whatever this turns out to be with Jay is all going to end up leading to him fighting and beating Roman at Mania. I don't know. Hopefully, maybe that's what it was supposed to be about, right?
Yeah. Maybe night one main event is Jay versus Jimmy. Although Jay being on Raw now opens that a possibility for a Survivor Series, I suppose. And then Cody finally dethroning Roman. I don't know. I feel like we all thought how that was going so many times now, and then we were all wrong so many times that we're gonna bury Roman with the belt. I have no idea at this point. It could go because Cody said 1,000 times that really that's the only belt he's interested in. He's not interested in Seth's belt. And as much as the Seth Cody thing was a banger, that's kind of been played out, Yeah. So that's not going to happen. So yeah, Seth Jay could be a possibility. I really don't, I don't want to go too much into the Seth Nakamura thing before we get to the match, but as much as clearly there's going to be more to that, I don't really want there to be. So I don't know. There's so many possibilities now with Jay there. And like I said, it feels now more than ever that Raw is such a heavier brand than SmackDown is right now, which is a little concerning because that's supposed to be the quote unquote, kind of flagshipy show, the one on Fox. Yeah. And I just feel like all the interesting talent's on Raw at this point.
I 100% agree. And the last note I have just came to me. We got a new person on Raw. SmackDown lost a member of their roster. It sounds like maybe part of those negotiating deals, Cody, got transferred over to SmackDown. And that could...
I thought about that. I thought that could be a possibility, but this would be too soon. Because, obviously the buildup for that is going to be Roman. So what are you going to do? Move him over to SmackDown and have him... essentially gain control of SmackDown and just wait for Roman for 8 months or whatever it's going to be.
Do they have to do it at Mania? Like, does it? I guess
it's the only thing that makes sense at this point. But what is sense anymore? I don't know, man. It's like I said, we thought he was already going to have the belt. I think a lot of us, and the momentum felt like that, and then he doesn't, and now the bloodline thing is weird, and does Jimmy kind of want back in? Kind of. It's very. They're running the risk of a lot of people souring on the whole bloodline situation, and I do think that putting Jay on Raw is a good thing, because Jay is so over right now, that it helps kick the can down the road a little bit, but you still got to address it at some point.
100%.
All right, so after that brilliant revelation, we were thrust into the Women's Championship with Rhea versus Raquel. Rhea, like you said, rocking a China-inspired ring outfit. Very obvious and very fitting for the Judgment Day. I think she should bring this one out. I mean, those things can't be cheap, so might as well get some use out of it.
Right.
Obviously, this was a power-based matchup. Both of them being, powerhouses in the women division. Very physically intimidating over the other women. You really felt like, from a physicality standpoint, really Raquel's pretty much the only one that could stand up against Rhea. But turns out she can't. I didn't really think, it wasn't a bad match by any means, but I thought going into this, I was like, oh, this is going to be a pretty good match. They have some history in NXT. And if I recall, Raquel beat Rhea in NXT. But really, Raquel had her moments and her spots, but to me, there was never any question that Rhea was just walking away a comfortable winner in this.
Yeah, I don't know anybody who can beat her. I think, especially at the start of the match, like, the more physically dominating woman, I think, is Raquel. She's bigger, she's stronger, but she just does not have that vicious side that Ripley has.
See, I disagree a little bit there. So Raquel's taller, but from a physique standpoint, I actually do think Rhea's more impressive. I think, Rhea's a little bit more developed and a little bit more sculpted. Raquel always shows off her back and whatnot, but I'm usually like, man, but I think Rhea's more impressive personally.
I agree with you there. I can see where you're coming from. And I'm glad you mentioned the whole back deal, because I have this written down. What's up with that? She comes out great, smile, show off your muscles, right? But I'm not no gym rat. I don't know of any muscles in your back. I don't really know how you work out your back and how that makes you stronger. I don't know what back muscles are even for, because you don't lift with your back. It all confuses me. And she's just so proud to show them off. And I'm just like, I didn't even know people had muscles on their back. That wasn't even a thought in my head.
I am a gym rat, and I know all of those answers, and I'm still not all that impressed. I could go down to EOS Fitness tomorrow morning and see about a dozen backs that are more impressive. Not to discount her by any means or anything, but I agree that she doesn't need to flex it 18 times.
Yeah, I feel like before she goes out, somebody's like, don't forget to show them that back. Every time.
Got to oil up your back before you go out.
It's just so random, right? And this match, I don't have too much to comment on. You can imagine what this was. It was two big women hit each other, knocking each other down, until Ripley finally, plays into her nature, plays a little bit dirty, finally gets the victory, right? Goes
in on the knee. That's the key there.
very, very smart going back after that bad leg that she just got over, by the way. So now she's going to be out again for 6 weeks. But the whole thing I'm thinking is, like, what's the point of this? Who's next? Like, who is next? Because she's fucking Goldberg at this point. Like, who's next? My first thought, like, maybe Bailey? Like, if we're trying, we either need to use this reign of Ripley to build a new star or revive an old star. The first old star I could think of is Bailey. Yeah, she's a heel right now, but
Shayna.
I can see Shayna. I don't. They would need to do. I guess beating Ripley would do it for her, but I feel like I need to see her do more before beating.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean, Rhea's turned into the Roman at this point of like, 3 defenses a year, and they're not even really matches at this point. I agree that there's literally no one, unless they want to run back Rhea Charlotte at some point. I don't know. That's what I mean. Like, I really don't see anybody on this roster that I could believably see taking down Rhea. And I love it, to be honest with you. Because this one feels so, like, with the Roman thing, I love Roman, I love the bloodline, but like, we're tired of it a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, we're kind of tired of Roman having the belt for 18 years. I'm not tired of Rhea yet. And I don't think I will be for a while, because like, you can see in the Roman Cody match, like from a match standpoint, you can see avenues for victory for Cody or a lot of the people that face him, like Jay. There were a lot of avenues for Jay to win. I literally do not see anyone on the roster where I can see an avenue to victory over Rhea.
Yeah, I completely agree. Just nobody. People that I'd like to see get built up. Obviously, Shayna, Zoe Stark, who's great. You know what I'm saying? They need to give them some oomph. I feel like if Raquel had a different character because of her size, she could definitely, be a presence. But I with the smiling and back flexing, like you're a joke. And I forgot she had a tag team partner. I forgot that Liv
Do it for Liv.
Person. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, they yelled that out loud, and I was like, oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the other wild card here, Sasha Banks is a free agent. I know everybody's talking about her going to AEW, and she was at All In, but you never know. You never know. Not that I think she could beat Rhea, but she has the reputation that would allow her to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like it'd be like the Ray Austin situation. I can't take Sasha seriously if she were fighting Ripley. I haven't seen anything that she's done outside of WWE lately in New Japan and Stardom or wherever she's been at. That was also another person I was speculating them bringing back, because she's the only other name that could be hype enough to accomplish that. But I don't know.
Kyrie too. Kyrie's coming back.
Kyrie, but these small women,
Yeah, and I really think the Kyrie, Asuka, something like that, or I mean, shit, dude, we're still waiting on Io Asuka, really.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be more her side of thing. That's why I've been saying, dude, like, it's time for Rhea to start wrestling guys. Like, dude, I would love for something to happen where we get a Rhea versus Dirty Dom match. Like, that would be match of the year for me.
That would be great, and I think that'd be the only guy she could have a match with, because anybody she'd wrestle, she'd beat. Like, first off, you can't beat Rhea as a guy and feel like that's an accomplishment. So whoever she's wrestling, she's winning or beating, and whoever she beats, you're never going to take seriously again. If she beat, I mean, maybe if it's like The Miz, we already don't take him seriously. But like
Grayson Waller,
Grayson Waller, Austin Theory, what's his name, Santos Escobar. Like,
but dude,
those people,
I would love to see Rhea beat Austin Theory's ass. Wouldn't you?
I'd love to see it, and because then we'd finally get him to go away. But I don't know if we should kill the young dude's career that early, you know?
They'll just give him a new character and, recycle him. They'll figure it out.
Like maybe she gets beef with Dirty Dom, they get in a spat, and then somehow she ends up beating down Austin Theory and beats him down so bad he becomes the new little, boy toy. You know what I'm saying?
I could see that. I could see
That's the only way they could make it work.
Either way, for the foreseeable future, there's no beating Rhea. To me, she is, out of the entire roster, men and women, she is the most unbeatable wrestler on the roster right now.
I mean, let her keep the belt longer than Roman. Fuck it.
Sign me up, dude. Sign me up. So after we got this match, there was a brief little interview spot where Cena was interviewing the new tag champs. And then we went right into Seth and Nakamura. This has been a weird beef to me, a little bit weird. I love the Yakuza anime style promos that Shinsuke's been cutting. Those are absolute fire, dude. Give me more of them. Give me more of that Yakuza boss Shinsuke vibe. I'm all for it. But we'll go through the match and go through some of the spots. I honestly felt like in ring wise, Seth majorly outdid Nakamura. I thought there were. I usually think that Shinsuke is a really good wrestler and I really enjoy him, but seeing him in a main event long match with somebody who's such a good in-ring performer as Seth, I actually felt like it kind of exposed some of the flaws of Shinsuke, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, ever since he came to WWE, or primarily moved up from the main roster, because I loved some of his later NXT action. I didn't catch the early stuff when he was fighting Sami Zayn, but some of the later stuff before he got moved up was fantastic. And then his first little stint on the main roster was great. Then he turned heel on AJ Styles, and he's kind of been super mid since then. And I feel like he's just been a handful of good spots. Unfortunately, a lot of the in-betweens be a little bit too meh for me. He's got great charisma and everything while he's in there, but especially in this match, and I don't know if it's because he was focusing on the back and trying to be a bit more methodical with it. It just felt a little bit slow, especially for what I was expecting. I was expecting like a 30-minute go out. We got friggin' Rollins, we got Nakamura, the King of Strong style. Like, I was expecting quite a bit from this. Like, I thought this was going to set the show off. This was putting the whole show together, because walking into it, this did not look like a good show. This looked like a very mid pay-per-view when a lot of people were taking some PTO, and it kind of turned out that way, aside from the Judgment Day victory, the other people picked it up, where I felt that, it should have been on, no pun intended, it should have been on their backs. And I don't think they carried it well enough.
No, and I thought Seth did great. I mean, spoiler, I'm a Seth stan. You know this. Seth is probably my favorite guy on the roster right now in general. Love the character, love his wrestling. Like, the dude can literally go in the ring with anybody, and you're not going to be disappointed. There was a spot. Seth was on the edge of the ring, and Shinsuke tried to come through and hit him with a knee in the back. I can't remember if he came off the ropes or if he was came flying through, and he completely missed Seth and just absolutely plummeted himself into the ground outside the ring. And to me, that just like kind of summed up the match of just like almost, but not quite. Although, obviously, being a Seth stan, I absolutely loved how completely unprovoked the crowd just broke out and Seth's songs multiple times throughout the match. That was probably one of my favorite moments. But yeah, they played up the back thing a lot, which was to be expected. And honestly, the match went about as expected. Nakamura just really focused on the back. They played that up. They played up, the fact that he doesn't care and he's gonna, break him for his family and all this shit. And Seth just powered through,
Yeah. Some things that I liked about it. I was not a fan of Seth's outfit. It wasn't.
Dude, Seth can do no wrong with the outfits. What do you mean?
I feel like all his past outfits were just better. This one just wasn't it. I needed more fluff, more puff, more frill. I don't know, but it just needed a little bit more oomph for my taste. Now, I was a big fan of Nakamura's outfit. It looked like some Sub-Zero Mortal Kombat shit. That shit was really nice. And what was this acid trip of an intro that Nakamura had where I don't think WWE's ever did anything like that before? And great. Just like you mentioned with his promos and stuff beforehand, we need more of this. We need something different to show that we should be paying more attention to this, because you're like, well, what is this? This is something different. It shows that there's more significance to this character and to these matches. Not something that I feel WWE gives enough time, especially to, these other wrestlers that aren't your Seth Rollins. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I loved the promo. If there's anything, I mean, clearly there's going to be more of this, because first off, how are you going to have a continuation of this and not air it? It bothered me that I had to see on Twitter that Nakamura attacked Seth again after the match, because I felt like I legitimately watched the end of the match and I'm like, well, at least it's over. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be no more of this. And then I see on Twitter that Shinsuke attacked Seth as he was coming down the ramp and whatnot. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess this isn't over. So on the bright side, at least we get more of those promos. But yeah, the whole like turning Seth into an anime character and whatnot, like, dude, I loved all of that. I thought that was, but to me, this should be Nakamura's character now. That's why I feel like they need to give him that like mob boss, like, I'm going to take you out kind of thing. Keep him heel. I just don't know, to me, he's just not on Seth's level. Throw him at Theory, throw him at LA Knight. I feel like that would be good, but I just Seth, he's in that top tier where like he competes with, yes, he's the working man's champion, so he's going to have all these defenses and whatnot. But like the pay-per-views, I want to see him against guys his level of Cody or Jay. And, I know I said the Cody thing was, but you know what I mean? Like that level performances in the ring is what I want to see him with. The him and Finn stuff was fantastic, I know that they both have belts, but give me him and Gunther. Like, you know what I mean? That's what I want to see in a main event. To me, this was a main event because it was Seth freaking Rollins and had nothing to do with Nakamura.
Unfortunately, I'd have to agree. Nakamura was just the name at the top of the list, that wasn't part of the Judgment Day, because, there's not many other top heels that they could put in a main event match like this. It wasn't too bad of a match, because it definitely could have been a lot worse. They actually did let them go out there and have some fun. Seth at one point hit a giant frog splash, which was beautiful. I know Tez is mad about that, still in his move.
Dude, he had some mega hang time on that.
Yeah, he got a little turn in it. It was really nice. I was kind of upset with Nakamura because, yeah, we're focusing the back, and he has his classic move sets where he'll, kind of lay you down over the top rope, knee you in the gut, lay you down on the outside of the apron, knee you in the head, maybe, lay him on his back. and knee him in his back, since that's what the whole match is about. Small things like that could have made things better. But just going into the match and then talking about the back, I knew I was going to get probably my favorite wrestling spot ever, which is that sliding German when they're sitting on the ropes.
Yeah.
Oh, I just love that. It's just so smooth. It looks so nice. You can walk around outside, get a little strut. It's just amazing. And I love the mic's a little bit too close, because at one point, as they're getting close to the finish, Rollins is just like, "Come on, bitch!"
Yeah.
That had me chuckling. And then earlier on, Rollins says some shit like, "My wife worries. You ain't got to make her worry no more," or something like that.
Yeah, that was a good line. I enjoyed that one. There were, as much as I kind of shit on the match a little bit, there were some really good moments. I'll give him that. Seth countered to Kinshasa with a nice super kick. There was a really nice series where Shinsuke countered a clothesline with an arm bar, transitioned it into a triangle, and then Seth countered that into a sit-out power bomb. That was a nice spot. There were a couple nice spots, but overall, like I said, it just didn't feel like. I almost feel like the tag match would have made a better main event, but then we have the implications of the Senor Money in the Bank. So I guess it had to happen in that order. But after seeing how broken Seth was, why the hell was there no cash in?
Yeah. His wife set it off of being Becky 2 belts. You could have been Damien 2 belts, but that should have happened. I completely missed whatever happened.
It would have been 3 belts because he's already got 2.
Oh yeah, I gotta forget about the whole stupid double belt situation that's going on. But I didn't even see.
He'd be like Roman walking out with 3 belts around his waist. They're wearing 1 and having Heyman with 2.
He'd be like the indie god. Do you see these pictures he'd be posting?
No, I don't.
He's got 8 belts at this point, dude. You guys just take a peek, man. I think he recently won something new. And he just be posting pictures with all of the belts. It looks absolutely ridiculous.
I'm glad he found his way and found a group of people that want to watch him. Good for him.
That's very true. But I need to look up what happened after the match, because I guess we're getting more of this. I feel like that one point
basically Seth was being helped out of the arena, and Shinsuke just leveled him and kept going after him, and the whole kind of deal of all the security guards come out and a bunch of referees come out and separate him, and Shinsuke just keeps going after him, keeps kicking the back, and so to me that just screams that there's more of this to come. Shinsuke just didn't seem done, so I feel like we're getting more of it.
Yeah, and 2 points. One, Shinsuke, if you wanted it that bad, at one point in the match, he hit a top rope Falcon Arrow, and then a Kinshasa to the back of the head, back of the neck, to the back, and then he didn't immediately go for the pin. What are you doing? And I mean, number 2, okay, great, they're gonna fight again. What, on Raw? Just a shitty Raw match? Or what can they? This didn't entice me to be like, oh, they're running it back? Hell yeah, brother. Nah, I'm kind of we get to see Nakamura lose again. Cool. And it's going to be an even more slow and methodical match as Seth struggles with his back, but eventually hits the stomp and wins,
And speaking of that stomp that ended it really came out of nowhere. He went to go for the stomp. Shinsuke counter with a step up enziguri, and then I don't even understand how the stomp that won the match happened. It was like they were either moving camera or something, but it literally was it was a baby stomp. Shinsuke was barely off the ground, and it just it was a weird ending a little bit.
Yeah, they were fighting over a sunset flip. One person did the sunset flip into the pin, and then it got reversed, and then somehow Seth slipped out of there as Shinsuke was getting up to hit the stomp. I liked it, quick out of nowhere, desperation. almost, because Seth was, trying to fight out, you know, tooth and nail to get this victory to hold on to his belt, which I guess does help push them into the next match. But I mean, what if they just give it to Nakamura?
They won't. I really don't think they will. I think, maybe this Seth Nakamura thing will go one more bout. I don't think it'll go a trilogy, because really, to me, it's like, I mean, Jay is, it makes the most sense, does it not?
Yeah, 100%.
So we'll see where that goes. But to me, this match was like third of the night, sadly.
Yeah, I wasn't super hype. It's kind of between this one and the cage match, but I put the cage match over this one. Definitely, to be honest.
Yeah. Definitely, for me, the cage match was over it. It would be tag match, cage match, and then main event. I mean, but the biggest moments overall of the night were probably Judgment Day winning and Jay's return, I would say.
Yeah, it should be very exciting. I didn't see any type of preview for what they got going on Raw, but I'm sure there was some spicy stuff I'm eager to catch up on.
As a whole, this pay-per-view, maybe a hot take, I don't know. I actually felt like it was probably Triple H's worst pay-per-view so far.
Oof. I don't think it was that good. I don't know about worst, right? Because I can't think of any other bad ones off top. I feel it was just as mid as I expected it to be, but because Judgment Day won, I was very excited, so I can't complain.
It could also just be the placement, because I felt like Money in the Bank was Triple H's best pay-per-view. And then SummerSlam was good. SummerSlam wasn't a banger. It had some really good moments, but it wasn't. I mean, WrestleMania was probably better than SummerSlam. So you have WrestleMania, you have Money in the Bank, because what I think the first PLE under Triple H was last year SummerSlam, if I recall. So with that being said, there's not a huge selection to choose from, but yeah, this was a very meh PLE for me, especially just coming after Money in the Bank and then SummerSlam. It was just kind of
Yeah, and I feel that this is going to be a trend until we get back to Royal Rumble. Hopefully not, but maybe Survivor Series will do something to spice things up, but I feel like, what can they do? Like, unless we get some classic Survivor Series action when we have, champion versus champion, maybe we finally can use that as an opportunity to split the belt or something. Because otherwise, they're just going to put on some nonsense feuds, and a lot of what they got going on, I'm not really into.
Yeah, and so I just pulled up the schedule now. So we're looking at NXT No Mercy is next, and that's the 30th of this month. So that could be Becky Tiff.
Has to be.
And then we got Fastlane on October 7th. Crown Jewel, which is going to be the Saudi one, in November 4th. If I recall, that might be in line to be like the last of the. Is Cena through the rest of the year or just a couple months? I can't remember.
It's a couple months. I don't know if I saw him past around that same time range. I know it's through the end of October, for sure. But they recently sent out like whatever he's going to be at these shows going forward, And I don't recall seeing. I don't think I saw December on there at all, let alone.
Yeah, I that's why, who knows? Maybe they give him a belt at Fastlane and then he loses it in Crown Jewel and then he's done. And then end of November is Survivor Series. So I know that I've seen everything saying that they want to try to hold off Jimmy versus Jay until WrestleMania, but that just feels way too far to me. it would make sense at Survivor Series. So we'll see. I would say that maybe this and Fastlane may be one of the two lowest PLEs of the year, and then it'll pick back up with Crown Jewel, and then Survivor Series will be interesting, and hopefully we'll close out the year on a upswing and start to feel like we know where WrestleMania is headed a little bit. Because right now, some of the stuff just feels like it could be too far away.
Yeah, it'd all just be a random guess right now. I mean, obviously, I feel like Roman's main eventing, and Rhea's going to have a belt, but I feel like everybody else is up in the air.
There could be huge shakeups too, because I know I was part surprised, part not surprised to see that WWE made a really big run at Kenny Omega, a month or two ago when his contract was up before he re-upped with AEW. And I know Ospreay's coming up, if I recall, like his contract.
It is.
So who knows? Maybe WWE makes if they made a really big run at Kenny Omega, and they want a huge in-ring performer, maybe they add him to the roster.
They could use him, man. Hopefully they just let him be him, because don't gimp him like you've gimped everybody else. But they're going to have to pay out the wazoo, because everybody going to be throwing all their money, because he's been holding it down for New Japan. They're going to want him back. AEW got the big con bucks as well, so they're going to be throwing it out. But MJF contract, I'm pretty sure is coming up first of the year too. And he young, so they're going to be right on top of that.
Yeah, and there was already the beef with him and AEW, so we'll see. I mean, dude, if we're talking in the landscape of all of wrestling, to me, if there's one person that has the ability to be the next Roman Reigns, it's MJF.
Somehow I think he could make it happen. I did not like the guy. I was skeptical of the guy. I thought he was questionable inside the ring. I was like, cool. He can be an easily hated character. Great. You got that going for you. But man, won me over. Shut me up.
Yeah. I've really enjoyed him. I've really enjoyed this whole MJF Adam Cole storyline. It's been really fun. But that's pretty much 2023 Payback. You know what? Take us home, Henron.
Yeah. What a lovely show. Hopefully we get some bigger and better things going here forward. It was a pleasure blessing everybody with our voices this evening. Until the next adventure, you may all resume your worthless lives.
Deuces.
Peace.